Hey, LT from realityunscripted.com here to give you a little recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, which airs on Bravo. The episode for Sunday was really interesting. The ladies were in South Africa. They traveled from Atlanta to South Africa on the entire flight over. They didn't show, where there was any really real dialogue or confrontation or anything over the whole Nene decided to bring Marlo situation. It was kind of like that pink elephant in the room. Everybody just, went on their, I think it was a 20-hour flight and just, kind of, stayed in their own little lane, the smalls versus the talls. Um, Once they arrived in South Africa, everyone noticed that Marlo is like the Countess Luann of the Real Housewives of New York. All she talks about is etiquette. Etiquette this, etiquette that. When you stand up, you're supposed to do this. And when someone asks you to pass the salt, are you supposed to pass them the pepper as well? It's like she's giving pop quizzes and little lectures on etiquette. And Candy, made a really funny comment. She was like, she's trying to erase her past by trying to become this new person. And it's like, it's just so funny to see that this Marlo person has such a interesting past, yet she's so refined and she's such a socialite and she knows etiquette. It's hilarious to see, and she talks non-stop throughout this episode about etiquette. And what's even funnier is that this person that talks about etiquette so much didn't have the courtesy to let someone know that she was going to be on this 10-day trip to South Africa. It's like they all knew that it was going on and that it was happening, but she and Nene purposely kind of hid this, that she was going on the trip. So I just thought that was, a little bit interesting. And to make it even worse, to talk about etiquette, she was not invited to go on the trip. She was attending the trip without any type of warning or notice to the person that was planning the trip. And then she has demands. She can't share a bathroom. She's not going to share a bathroom. Like, it's utterly ridiculous. Even funnier, the concierge was there to give them a tour of the suite that they were going to stay in, because they're in Cape Town, South Africa for the first, I think, night or two of the trip. That's kind of the more luxurious side of South Africa. That's kind of where it's very touristy. That's where the tourists go when they want to go and see South Africa but still live in luxury, which is kind of an oxymoron. You would think that if you were going to South Africa, not to say that you should go and want to live in squalor, but if you're going to South Africa, wouldn't you really want to experience South Africa and the culture? It's like those people don't live at those 5-star resorts. So you would think that they want to be a little bit closer to the actual culture, but not these ladies. But yeah, the concierge was there, and Marlo's like, well, who's the housekeeper? She wants to know who the housekeeper is. She's just like not being very, you would think that for someone that wasn't invited on the trip that she'd be trying to lay low, fly below the radar a little bit more, but she is just there. She's a chatterbox. She's all about etiquette. She's giving pop quizzes. She's complaining. She has demands. She is a true diva. She and Candy aren't really, you can tell that there's some animosity and some tension there between them, because they're throwing like little verbal drabs. At breakfast, they were, kind of going back and forth a little bit. Candy makes some comments about all of the little etiquette lessons. She's, just kind of over it, but Candy is just being, Candy. She doesn't complain a lot. She doesn't demand a lot. She just kind of, makes her comments and, kind of keeps it moving. They're on they went on a yacht cruise, I think, to see some of the South African island, and they're kind of, the tension is kind of there, and they can kind of sense it, and so they all just kind of start talking, and they kind of make up. It's like for like a 5-second makeup. They all kind of agree that, that they have some issues. Nene is asking Phaedra, why she has a problem with her, and Phaedra was like, she doesn't have a problem with her. And Nene was like, well, I don't believe that. I think that you have a problem with me, which is very typical Nene. It's like she has a problem with someone, and instead of her saying, I have a problem with you, I don't, want to deal with you, she puts it off on them, because if she didn't have a problem with Phaedra, then why is it that she went out of her way not to communicate her and contact her? If she didn't have a problem with Phaedra, then why is it that she was adamant that she wasn't going to go on the trip? And so it's just really odd that she would, make that statement, and just, she constantly said the same thing. I don't have a problem with you. I don't have a problem with Apollo. You were the one that brought up that I said something about Apollo, but everybody said something about Apollo. It's like the same storyline from last year, and it's like it's getting old. It's like love each other, hate each other, like each other, don't deal with each other, whatever. But it's like you can't keep rehashing this same stuff over and over and over again. It's pretty ridiculous at this point. So they kind of make up. They're all, we can agree to disagree. They didn't use those words. I can't remember how they described it exactly, but sorry. They didn't use those words exactly, but they kind of, are one. They're a unit somewhat. Sheree brings the drama back just when you think that things are going okay. So during the planning of the trip, Sheree contacted one of her friends who I think has a restaurant, or he lives in South Africa. He cooks in South Africa. Not 100% sure what the connection is, but she knows this guy that is in South Africa. He apparently has a home there, and he invited her to come to dinner at his house. She invited the ladies, but she said that it was going to be three of them. She only invited Candy and Phaedra to go along with her to the dinner. She didn't know that Marlo was coming, so she's excused for that, but she purposely didn't invite Nene. And she didn't invite Cynthia because she said that, well, Cynthia's always up in Nene's ass. Cynthia's not going to go if Nene doesn't go, so she didn't even bother to invite her, which to me, I have a problem with that. I feel like if you're going to take it upon yourself to plan things for the trip, then plan outings for the trip. I feel like it was a little unnecessary for her to invite them. I think that she should have probably took it upon herself to not invite them. But as I say that out loud, and I think about what happened last season when they were at Kim's friend house, how Nene showed her ass, I can kind of see how Sheree didn't invite her. So I take that back. But nevertheless, she kind of made it known that they weren't invited to dinner. Then she was talking to Cynthia, off by herself, because Cynthia was like, okay, well, if you've made dinner, you have plans. She was like, well, I'll just make plans for everybody. If you want to come, you can come. You're still invited. And Sheree was like, well, I'm going to go to dinner at my friend's house, but you are more than welcome to come if you would like to come. The only reason I didn't invite you is because I knew that, you probably wouldn't want to come if Nene was going to come. And, Cynthia was like, so I'm invited. And she was like, yes, you're invited. And Cynthia was like, but Marlo isn't invited. She was like, no, Marlo isn't invited. She was like, Nene, I think she said that Nene wasn't invited, or she said that she knew that Nene wasn't going to come, one or the other. And so Cynthia was like, okay, well, let me think about it and I'll let you know. Cynthia went directly from talking to Phaedra and Sheree directly over to Nene and Marlo and told them exactly what Sheree said. And so Marlo took offense. Nene didn't take offense. She's just like, whatever. Because I think she knew that she didn't want to be in that situation. She wasn't going to go. For whatever reason, Nene is being a big girl about this situation so far. She's been really good, pretty decent on the trip. Marlo takes offense, and she decides that she's going to go and confront Sheree. And so she goes over. She asks Sheree, well, why wasn't I invited? She said she thought, well, you didn't know that I was coming, but I'm here now, so why am I not invited? And Sheree just kind of tells her, that she didn't basically just, if you want to come, then you can come, but she didn't know that she was coming, so that's why she wasn't invited. And they kind of go back and forth for a minute, and Marlo's upset. She kind of calls her bluff, tells her that she thinks that it's bullshit. And she then, decides that she's going to insult Sheree and say that, that's why you don't have a man, and that's why you need to keep hanging out with those, how did she say? I think she said fucking faggots. Not her words, not mine. And so Sheree, being Sheree, who she is, she, of course, followed Marlo to the next room, and they went back and forth for what seemed like forever. They were insulting each other, jab after jab. Sheree was telling Marlo that, that's why you're dating a 80-year-old man, and Marlo, dug into her finances, her marriage, her everything. Like somebody's dating a guy that deals drugs out of Onyx and the strip club. It was just like it was pretty intense. They went back and forth for what seemed like a while, insulting each other. And Nene was trying to play peacemaker. There were no, there was nothing physical. It was just all verbal. Like they were just going back and forth, insulting each other. And all of the ladies were kind of standing around, just kind of looking and watching, like, how long is this going to go on? And of course, Cynthia was like, well, if I had known that this is going to happen, then I would have never said anything. Like, seriously, you really didn't think that you telling them that this is going to happen? It was just, I was so mad at her because I felt like this is kind of what initiated it all. It was kind of, she just stirred the pot. Like it was already an insult that they weren't invited, that Sheree decided to do it, and then it's like Cynthia's just stirring the pot. So it was good. It was a great episode. I'll probably do a write up on it at some point tomorrow. So check out realityandscripted.com for more. This is LT. Night.